Right, okay, so next dream is going to be one which has got a really cool confirmation in it. Really cool confirmation. So I wanted to just do this one, so I could just throw that in there for you. So this one was from the 13th of November, 2025. Oh, by the way, at the moment it is February 2026, so a few months ago. Um, yeah. So I'm just going to read this as it is. So I put here, I'll start with the end of the dream. Was where I was working. I was classifying people's work occupations. So basically, just to give you a quick bit of background. So I've mentioned before, I'm a mortgage broker, so I have to do a fact find. So I have to find out a bit about the person that I'm looking to help out financially, around what they do work-wise, what their expenditures are, what their goals are, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's kind of what's happening here. So I'm classifying people in their occupation. So a nurse would go in the category of nurse, but you might have something that's really obscure job, and I won't know what to do. So I've got to find a category for them, pigeonhole them, if you will, to something that is quite close. Like sometimes I'll just put stuff in admin or manager because you've got manager in your title, just because you can't really necessarily find exactly what everybody's job is. So that's what I'm doing here. So I'm classifying people's work occupations. The person I've been speaking with got classified as a drummer, but think that was their hobby rather than their actual job. So again, I'm put them in as a drummer, but they're not at all. That's just something they do in their spare time. And that would obviously have an impact potentially on any kind of application that I'm doing for finance for somebody. It's probably going to make a big difference. Rather more of a hobby than it was a job. Where I'd seen them drumming, I sort of hovered over a video of them drumming. So it was almost like seeing a profile of somebody, and it had a picture, and there was like a video or something that came on, and it showed them drumming. And it was like if you had somebody like tagged in a photo or something I put here. So my mouse kind of like went over them, and then it showed them doing some drumming. So I thought, oh, drummer. Don't know why I would do that, but that's what I did. Anyway, their occupation would normally be something that I would manually write in as to what their job is, and then they get pigeonholed, obviously, into what's the best fit for them. And it seemed that this is some sort of new feature or something, and it automatically classified them as something else. So it was basically a work error, you know. So that it put that in. The bizarre aspect of the dream is that as soon as they were classified as a drummer, the actual person, so the physical person, got whipped up into the air. So that's bizarre in itself. It was like I was having a conversation with somebody, and then suddenly they just get pulled out and they get lifted up and they're in the sky. Totally random. Um, yeah. So yeah, up into the sky, roughly about 100 to 150 feet, I would say. So pretty high. Um, and that, as far as distance away from me, they were probably about 300 feet away. So they were a long distance away from me, but and they were very, very high in the sky. I end up panicking, thinking, "Oh, what have I done? What have I done to cause this to happen?" Thinking that it was somehow connected, or obviously what I'd done in this fact find, which is a bizarre thing to think of anyway. But the reason I thought it, I think, was because I saw them floating in the air, and they were sitting at the chair with a drum set around them. Um, and so obviously I thought, well, I've just put them down as a drummer, and now they're suddenly a drummer, but they're up in the sky. It must be connected to something I've done. So, and what they're doing is they're just looking. They're kind of aware. They're just like almost like not instantly, but very very quickly, and they're just suddenly up in the sky, and they're then looking down and around them, thinking, how do I get down? They were sort of judging the distance and whether they could jump. So I know that sometimes you can do that, can't you? You can look down from somewhere and think, oh, I'll be all right jumping down from there. But it's higher than you thought it was. I mean, I can't think that most people would look at 100 feet and think, I can jump that. I'll be all right. I'll just army roll when I get hit the floor, hit the ground. No, you need a bit more than that. But so they were sort of judging the distance and whether they could jump it. They actually wait they didn't actually, yeah, they didn't actually wait that long. So they just kind of had a little look and then just thought, right, I'm going to jump, you know. So they just jumped over the edge, feeling like they really had no choice. I imagine, you know, they're stuck in the middle of the air. Who's going to come to their rescue up here? You know, so they just decided to jump. And I felt absolutely terrible because I actually saw them dropping. You know, at the 150 feet, you know, roughly, there's enough time that I can see them, you know, coming down like they would do somebody jumping out of a building, you know. And saw them coming down, and I kind of thought, oh, this is all my fault. And I basically saw the ramifications of my actions, which was that I did something wrong, and it's caused something devastating. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I saw. Oh, her. Okay. So it's a woman as well. I saw her helplessly fall, leap until she got very near roofline level. So a lot of the sky was kind of open. If you imagine she's up high and then everything else is so much lower than her, it got to the point where she got to more or less sort of, let's say, house roof level. So about 30, 40 feet, something like that. Again, depending on the house, but around about that, probably more closer to 30, but you know, something like that. And I think and I was still watching as it happened. I'm surprised I didn't look away, to be honest. But um, yeah, so and then yeah, she just suddenly stopped in the air, just stopped falling. It's like she'd yeah, just before she hit ground level, she'd just been held in the air, and she and then she slowly floated down. So if you imagine she's just come shooting down at speed and then hits a level and then she slowly goes down. Obviously, you can't see anything. It's just that she just hits this invisible, almost like cushion of air that then slowly allows her to come down. Then she makes her way back over to me to sort of say, "Did you just see what happened?" You know, and I explained. I said, "Well, look, I mean, clearly God has just saved you. You know, cushioning your drop." And I actually know. Oh yeah, yeah. I actually know who it was as well. So it's one of my clients. I actually know who it was, but nothing relevant to the dream. I just recognised her. It's a bit bizarre. Um, yeah, yeah. That's the end of it. So she just came up to me and just said, "You see what happened?" And I sort of said, "Yeah, well, it looks like God saved you. I mean, what other possible explanation is there for you to be falling out the air and then suddenly an invisible force catches you and then slowly takes you down to ground? Clearly God." Okay. So thoughts on that I thought were, well, it's obviously demonstrating how God, well, I thought anyway, how God is involved in my work life. I mean, I do actually pray on that quite a bit. It's just say, you know, look, help me to be accurate, help me to recommend the right things, help me to make the right decisions for people, financial decisions, which obviously can be massive, you know, when we talk about hundreds of thousands of pounds of lending, you know, that sort of stuff. If I make a wrong decision, then that can cause problems. So I was thinking, oh, okay, well, it's God is involved in my work life, but more from the point of view of almost covering my mistakes. You see what I mean? Is where I was kind of looking at it, because it was my mistake, wasn't it, that put her up in the sky. As far as I'm concerned, in the messaging, she falls. The ramifications are that she's going to die. I mean, obviously extreme in this, but that God catches her and makes sure that that doesn't happen. So yeah, so I like it. Look at it as it's almost like a because I've had this happen many times actually, where and I have been genuine. You know, look, I've made a I'd have prayed on something and said, look, I've made a mistake here. This is 100% my fault. You know, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice this. It's caused a domino effect down here. It's causing all these problems. It's probably going to come down to a complaint, you know, and I'm going to get a disciplinary against me. But I'm not really worried about that. Can you? And I'll say something, you know, like to God as to, can you just resolve the issue for you, for me? You know, whatever needs to happen to make sure that that person isn't financially impacted by my mistakes. Can you just please make that happen? And then what obviously whatever punishment comes my way as a result of my negligence, then that's down to, that is what it is. It is what it is. And I've had it several times, and it's resolved itself. Stuff that's outside of whatever what a lender would ever do, they've done. You've had people that just said, "Oh, we'll do this for you." Yeah, you don't normally do that, though, do you? Well, no, but we'll do it for your customer this time, okay? Because we want to sort this out. And I'd be like, "Whoa, where did that come from?" So there's quite a few things where I've just not had complaints, you see, because of things that would have been complaints and could have been problems, just didn't happen. So yeah, so that, and I would say that obviously that is the same for everybody. It's not just your we all have jobs that we've been given to obviously do, and obviously do them to the best of your ability, but ask for guidance is what I would say, and to not have anything that you do wrong impact negatively on other people. It's a mistake. It's a genuine mistake. I didn't mean to do it. And that's where I felt that God's kind of come in at quite a few points and sorted it out for the person. As I said, nothing's really seemed to have come back on me in the times that it has happened, but it's just been fully resolved. So that's what I think it was. Again, quite a small lesson in a way, but then as I'm writing it, so I'm writing this down. I started writing my dream journal. I started writing in December 25 and into January 26, and then I was done in January. I've been done for probably about 3 weeks, and I've just been delaying starting the dreams really. But then as I'm writing it, something happens, which is a confirmation. Okay, so this is going to be what I'll show as a classic confirmation when you know that a dream's. The way I look at it, a dream that's come from God, and has got a message. And I've had another one, which I'll go through eventually, but it's a bit complex, where I had one, and I kept on just binning this dream and just saying, I don't think it is anything. It didn't feature in season 1, although I had it ages ago, this dream. And then read it a second time, thought maybe I'll put it in here season 2, see whether worth doing. Read it over again, couldn't see anything, binned it again, and even wrote a note on the actual note on my phone, just saying, don't bother with this one, just nothing. And then I had something happen on TV, minutes after I moved it from dreams to be filmed to dreams to be dropped. Minutes later, something came up very, very similar to what that dream was about, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to take another look at that then. And took another look. I still couldn't understand it, still couldn't make it out. And then I think it was like a few days later, 3 or 4 days later, maybe a week later, I had a dream, and it had an element of that dream in it, and it explained it. And I was like, all right, this brings it all together now. But oddly, that initial dream that I had kept on dropping hasn't got a huge amount to it anyway. So it was kind of like, yeah, I mean, I still don't really know what that dream's sort of trying to tell me, but we'll see. We'll see where we go with it. But that's this one. As I said, I'm just going to show you the little the confirmation I had. And as I mentioned in my introduction, I've had more confirmations for this season of or this session, let's say, of writing out my dreams than I think I had in the first season. So I've had loads and loads and loads of them, and they've really helped actually to confirm again, God's involved in all these different things. And so I'm going to show this to you now. So I'm going to have to pause it. It's a little bit of a clip from a children's program. So I'll give you just a quick background actually before the mic's too close. It was basically a season of programs that my daughter was really into. My youngest daughter, she used to watch it when she was a lot younger, and we were kind of like reliving it, I suppose, years later. And we just decided to watch it again. As we're doing this, then it comes up as the confirmation. Okay, it's not really much background I need to give you about it, other than, well, you'll see why. I was kind of like, whoa, okay. But yeah, I'm going to pause it. I've got it teed it up to the right point, so it should be ready to go. Okay. Right, okay, I'm going to try and hold this as kind of steady as I can. So as you can see, Henry Danger, it's season 1, episode 17, and it's just over 6 minutes in. Just going to quickly get this ready to play, and you'll see what I mean.
Hey, there's a bunch of switches back here. This one says dinosaur plane. Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, you're a big boy now.
Ooh, this one says release drum set. Wonder what that does. Not the entire drum set? I didn't see any cymbals.
There we go. So hopefully you can see where I saw that as a bit of a confirmation. I'm literally writing about a drum set falling out the sky. Well, in that it was in the sky, obviously, but you know what I mean, in the sky. And then that comes up. How random is that? How incredibly random is it that you have a drum set that just falls out of the, obviously, you know, not the sky as such, but, you know, above the ceiling in that video. But I was just like, come on. It just reminded me, you know, of all these kind of confirmations that I had, you know. The really, really good one is in the Bridge series. It's a demonic theme park one where I watched the film. I literally just, was it like 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, something like that. The confirmations come really quick. Generally, it's so that you don't think, it's so that you pay attention, isn't it? It's so, I can't believe that. I've literally just written about that. Or, you know, and the demonic theme park one, specifically in the Bridge series, I would say, it has the video. It doesn't in the individual one. I didn't really want to redo it all over again. But it shows the dream. It literally shows the dream. And that happened with Lost. And I had one about a submarine. And then 10, 15 minutes, I go upstairs. And then my dream is on screen again. I'm like, what is going on? Obviously, that was season 1, but it started happening again with season 2. Now, there's nothing in between where that's happened. You know, it's not like, because these confirmations only happened when I'm due to film, or writing out my dream journal. I don't recall them ever happening actually just after the dream, which is interesting, isn't it? It's only when you're ready to progress with a dream that they filming or logging it, that suddenly this comes up as a confirmation. So it's really, really fresh. Again, I mean, random of that. I mean, there's 7 seasons, like 30 episodes each. I don't know. There's loads and loads and loads of episodes. Just comes up with that one, spot on. And again, same thing with Lost. You know, it came up with the one episode out of that one season right at the moment that I'm writing down the dream. It's just mental, absolutely mental. I mean, it came like with that one. Sorry, that Lost one. It came up. I left my mum a voice message. It was just as I was preparing myself to do some of these dreams. I was writing my dream journal down, and I left her a voicemail saying, "This is dream 1, this is dream 2, this is dream 3." And I left it, and I was waiting for my mum to respond as to what. Whoa, yeah, I can see the connection between these dreams. Yeah, that kind of thing. And I was just, head down on my phone, just replying to a message or something. And I look up, and then the dream's happening. I'm like, what is going on? This is the craziness of signs that we receive. Okay, so hopefully you found that interesting. As I said, I wanted to just quickly demonstrate another confirmation for you. As to something, I'm probably going to call this one the hand of God. I mean, that's literally what it looked like, didn't it? Where you were caught, and there's message in there, I think, in itself, really, that you obviously you can be saved, not just in dreams and from things like this, but from big things that can happen in your life. You can be saved for sure. Yeah, I think I'll leave that there. Again, there's probably other bits and pieces I maybe should have gone into detail scripturally and stuff like that. But for now, I just wanted a quick one because I'm getting quite close to actually needing to start work. So that's it for now. All right. Hopefully found you that interesting. All right. See you soon.